Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Amy here. So today we're gonna start wrapping things up for the month of August. I read 16 books, listened to 16 books in August. So I have a lot to talk about. And as I'm like organizing my pile from like the first book I started the month off, I don't remember anything from this book. So the first book I read for August was Watch Me Disappear by Janelle Brown. Obviously, it wasn't memorable. I believe I gave it 3 stars. Okay, so going through my notes on Goodreads. Thank goodness I do Goodreads reviews because otherwise I don't remember this book at all. But it's kind of coming back to me a little bit. So we're following a young girl and her father. Her mother goes missing and the body is never found. So we go back and forth between Olive and her father, Jonathan. Jonathan's actually writing a book. He's an author. He's writing a book about his wife. Olive actually starts to feel and starts to get like kind of visions from her mother. So she's not convinced that her mother is truly dead without finding or having a body. She's just not convinced, and she wants her father's help to figure out what happened to her mother. It was more like a family drama than really a thriller. I wasn't really impressed with the ending, and that's basically the gist of it. So we have a daughter and a father that are just basically trying to come to terms with what happened to Billy, who is the mother and the wife, and we each get their story and how, you know, they feel and how they're going about it. And like I said, Jonathan is writing a book, so we get kind of a book within a book, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like, I usually love a book within a book. This did not impress me, but I have in my notes that I did enjoy the story. So I guess it was good. It just wasn't as thriller and as just, I guess it wasn't as much of a thriller as I wanted it to be, and I just wasn't happy with one of the characters, as I wrote in my review. But anyway, so yeah, I gave this one 3 stars. Next, I jumped into a book of the month. This is Arsenic and Adobe by Mia Mansala. I actually really enjoyed this. Did I give this? I gave it 4 stars. So we follow Lila. I'm not even gonna attempt to say her last name. I did listen to this as well as Watch Me Disappear on audio. I do have in my notes that the audio was very well done for this book, and that's probably what kept me going. Same with this one. If you have not read this one, I highly recommend the audio because you just get the feel and just the rawness of our characters and their accents and their heritage. It just really brought out the characters and the story in the book, I found anyway. I thoroughly enjoyed the audio. I do remember this one. So we have Lila. Lila is a cook. Her family owns a restaurant, and she has come home to sort of help her family because I think the restaurant's not doing too well as what I can remember. But an ex-boyfriend walks in. He's like a food critic, and he ends up dying after tasting one of her dishes. So then of course the rest of the book is Lila just trying to clear her name, basically, because of course she is a suspect, as in all these cozy mysteries. There were a lot of characters in this book. I do remember having a little bit of a hard time kind of keeping up with who was who and who did what, but I'm very impressed with the ending. I loved Lila's aunts. Oh my god, they were hilarious, and the audio, that's what I say about the audiobook. The audiobook just does them so much justice. They are just hilarious. Love them. So this is the first book in a series, Tita Rosie's Kitchen Mysteries, and this was the first book. So I probably will pick up the next one whenever it comes out because I really did have a good time with it. For shits and giggles, I picked up volume 2 of The Walking Dead. This is Miles Behind Us. I'm still fascinated with how like different but yet the same this is with the series on TV. There's same characters and there's different characters, but yet like these characters that we know and love from the show have a different type of personality in here in the comic books. Like Carol, for example. Carol is completely different so far. Anyway, this is only volume 2, but so far she's completely different in the show compared to the comic. But in this one, we are on Herschel's farm. So we're introduced to Herschel in this one and his daughter Maggie, of course. But things don't necessarily go down the way I remember as far as Herschel and the farm and Maggie and all those things. And then at the end, we come upon the prison. So yeah, I'm sure volume 3 will be all about the prison. So but yeah, I've been really enjoying these comics, and especially just comparing them to the show. Like I said, this is only volume 2, but I have volume 3. I need to jump back into it because I really do like it, and it's a fast read. I gave it 5 stars. Then I couldn't wait any longer. I picked up Bathhouse by PJ Vernon. Oh my gosh, I loved it. The 5 stars for sure. Probably my favorite thriller so far for this year. We're still not to the end of the year. We're very close though. But dare I say it, my favorite thriller. So in here we follow Oliver. Oliver does something he should not have in the very beginning of this book, which leads just to the rest of this book, just like one thing after another. We also hear from Nathan, who is his partner. Oliver didn't have the best past life growing up. He was into drugs a lot. He just got mixed up with the wrong people, and then he meets Nathan. Nathan is a surgeon, if I'm remembering correctly. Nathan just kind of gets him back on his feet, finds him a job. You know, they fall for each other. So they consider themselves to be married, but yet they're not legally married. They wear rings, but they're not like legally married. But yes, going back to the beginning, Oliver goes to this bathhouse. Oliver is sort of addicted to sex with other men than Nathan. So he goes to this bathhouse and he meets this tall, blue-eyed Swedish guy. Think Alexander Skarsgård from True Blood. But something happens when they finally go into a private room, and things don't go as planned. After that, the book just kind of picks up from there, and Oliver's covering himself this way and that way, trying to make sure his stories connect and make sure that they're believable for Nathan, and it just keeps on rollerballing throughout the book. We get more characters that jump onto the page. I was just on the edge of my seat the entire time, just like, what's gonna happen next? Who's gonna pop up? What's Oliver gonna have to do next? It was just question after question. The suspense was just, it was there. It was sexy, it was spicy, it was enticing, addicting. Like, I couldn't put it down. I didn't listen to this book. I physically read it, but now I wish I would have listened to it. I can see myself going back and rereading / listening to this book because it was just that good, and I want the voices in my head of these characters. I know Michael Crouch is one of the narrators for the book, because I did kind of do a little sample just to get a feel, and I was like, oh yeah. Michael Crouch is a very good narrator. I've listened to him on other audiobooks. Really enjoyed this book. Like I said, so far for the year, it is my favorite thriller. Next, I picked up They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. I gave this 4 stars. This was really good. It's a very different take on a thriller that I've read since reading Sweet Pea by CJ Scoose. I really enjoyed Sweet Pea. If you haven't read that one, check it out. It's really good. We have a female serial killer, just like in here, but she's funny and quirky and just gets away with it, and you just don't know how. I kind of got the same vibes from Scarlett in this book. Scarlett is an English professor. We follow her We also follow a student named Carly. So we get the feel from Scarlett that she really hates men. She only kills men, and she only kills men that do bad things, basically. But we get this feel that she just hates men. Carly isn't really that exciting. Like, I really didn't care for her part of the book, other than the fact that she had a crush on her roommate, Allison. So we get a little bit of that. But then about halfway through the book, we get like this crazy twist. And I'm like, wait, what? And then the book kind of just starts flowing from there. So yeah, so from pretty much the halfway point to the end of the book is where I mostly enjoyed the story. I did really appreciate the female-female little romance we had going on between Carly and Allison. But yeah, I really wasn't expecting that twist right smack in the middle of the book, and then where we were gonna go from there. But it was really fun to read. I did listen to this via audio, and the audio was fantastic. We get two voices, one for Scarlett and one for Carly, which is always a win for me because it just kind of helps keep the characters in line. Take a quick sip of my pumpkin cream cold brew. Have y'all had one of these yet? They are delicious. It's like my second one in 2 days. Next up, we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. 5 stars, absolutely loved this book. I cannot wait to continue on with this series. I hear the next one is presented more of like a podcast, although we get a little bit of a podcast feel in this one. So we follow Pip. She's a senior in high school, and she's doing a research or a paper for one of her classes. I don't remember exactly what it is, but she takes on the responsibility of investigating this old crime that happened to a senior student at her school a couple years back. The student's name was Andy Bell. They closed the case saying that she was murdered by her boyfriend because her boyfriend ended up committing suicide. But Pip is not convinced that that's the true story. She's not convinced that the boyfriend did it. She thinks there's something deeper in the story, and she is invested in finding the truth. So she and the boyfriend, what was the boyfriend's name? Okay, the boyfriend's name was Sal. So we meet Sal's brother, Ravi, in this book, and he sort of joins in with Pip on the investigation, and a little bit of a romance kind of starts to form between the two of them. But yeah, we go about the book, she's questioning people, so we kind of get that podcast feel. There's like recordings of her questioning these people that went to school with Andy and Sal. It was really, really good. I did listen to this on audio because everyone I watched or discussed this book said the audio is the way to go. So yes, that's what I did, and it was phenomenal. We have a full cast of characters, which I totally appreciate. Everybody has their own voice. It was so much fun to listen to, and I really enjoyed like the layout of the book too, because I did kind of follow along, because once I realized that we were getting like recordings and things like that, I wanted to follow along in the book. So yeah, we get like texting and just recording some of Pip's notes and things like that. It was a really fun read. Like I said, I can't wait to jump into the rest of the series. Next up is Headstrong. This is number 3. Bella just popped up in here. Number 3 in the Vino and Veritas series, the wine and book bar. This is by Eden Finley. Love, love, love this author. I've read some things by her in the past. It's been a while since I've read anything recent from her, and I just remember really enjoying her writing. Her characters are very witty and funny and quirky, and I really enjoyed reading some of her books in the past. But like I said, it's been a while, so when I saw this, I was like, ooh, a good fresh Eden Finley book, and I wasn't disappointed. I've written in my Goodreads that says my favorite so far. So this is Rain and Whit's story. Rain is an ex-hockey player. He works at the wine bar and bookstore. Yeah, he suffered an injury, so he had to stop playing hockey. And then in walks Whit. Whit is a very fun character. He's a virgin. Rain is considering himself straight. Whit is gay, and he's openly gay, but he's a virgin. He's never really found the right guy that he's like just wanted to be with, and plus he hasn't really had time between school and playing hockey. So he's now bound and determined to find that guy, and Rain sort of steps in to give him advice as they become friends. But the more Rain sees Whit talking to other guys and flirting with other guys, he doesn't like it, and he's realizing he's starting to feel things that he doesn't understand, or that he shouldn't, or he thinks he shouldn't. And then things just go from there. It was really a fun read. I enjoyed every minute of it. I did listen to this via audio. I highly recommend the audio if you can. It was sweet, it was funny, 5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. Then we have Sunset Beach, which I gave 4 stars. Don't really remember much about it though. Okay, after reading my little review, this is by Mary Kay Andrews. I do now remember enjoying it very much. It kind of had more of cozy mystery feels than really a like mystery thriller kind of thing. It wasn't necessarily a thriller. It was, to me, it was more of a mystery, because we have 2 mysteries in this book that we're kind of following. One that was more recent, and that our character is kind of digging into because she doesn't feel like justice was done. And then one from like 1976, so we have a timeline that we go back to, and that one could possibly involve her father. Drew Campbell is our protagonist who we are following, and she has to move to she moves to Sunset Beach, where her grandmother had a little like cottage, and the cottage was actually left to her. So she moves there kind of to start all over. She's like not really, I think she had like a surfboarding accident. I don't know. She was some sort of like sports thing, and she had an accident. She hasn't really been able to do the sport, so she was waitressing. Things weren't going well, so she moves back to her grandmother's cabin on Sunset Beach, and she starts to work for her father, who owns a law firm there. He is also married to her ex-best friend from like middle school. So there's some like little tension and drama there with Drew and, I don't remember her name, but her so-called stepmother, I guess, who's her age. And then we have the 2 mysteries that Drew is trying to figure out what happened. She kind of runs across these cases from working with her father. But anyway, it was fun. I really enjoyed the timelines. The murder mysteries ended up to be really fascinating and fun. Like I said, it was more on the cozy side of mysteries and thrillers, not necessarily a thriller. I did listen to this one as well, and really enjoyed the audio. It's very rare I don't enjoy the audio, but I will let y'all know if I don't. Okay, y'all, I think we're gonna stop right there. That was 8 books. I don't have much more time left on my card, and I need to be somewhere shortly. So we're gonna cut it short right here, but part 2 will be coming up next. Let me know in the comments down below if y'all read any of these books that I talked about today, or if you're gonna check out anything that I mentioned in this video. Thank y'all always so much for watching. Get yourselves a pumpkin cold brew, a pumpkin cream cold brew, because it is delicious. Otherwise, I hope you're all doing well out there, staying safe. Hugs from me all around, and I will see y'all very, very soon in a new video. Bye, y'all.